What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files Ask Nick edition. I am your host, Nick, joined by the wonderful team and Chrissy, Allie, and Amanda. It is, however, with great sadness and disappointment that our beloved producer, Chrissy, has decided to join a superhero crime-fighting team and is leaving the Viall Files. Decided she wanted to be a crime fighter. I don't really know why.
Be amazing.
But anyways, Chrissy's leaving us. So would you like to, what's your uniform going to be?
I don't know, but that's the reason to leave, right? It's probably going to be purple of some time. Definitely a cape and some kind of mask, but.
Are you just going to laugh them to death or, just.
Yeah, like, I'm going to go around and laugh at people's face.
You know what? I'm done. I'm done committing my crimes.
Maybe you and Blake can team up, wildlife people.
Me and who?
Blake. Katie's Blake.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm okay.
You don't want Blake to be your new coworker?
However, I'll take Michael.
Anyways, yeah, Chrissy is becoming a park ranger. So she's just got
I thought I was a superhero today.
Yeah. Well, I was kidding about that, but we're serious. It's park ranger. You got a passion for the trees. I get it.
I have a passion for that. Only you can prevent forest fires, Nick.
Yeah.
Only you. Nobody else.
Well, we love you, Chrissy. We can't thank you enough for all the work you've done on the show, all the guests you've brought, and your joy of life. Chrissy with us for a few more episodes before she tells us to fuck off and joins the circus of crime fighters.
That'll be the last day. I'll just say fuck off. I'm out.
We have a great episode for you today. I think I don't know if I'm gonna die on this vine. Someone sent me an Instagram post, probably I presume after our Bachelor in Paradise recap with the wonderful Allie Barthwell. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. But we had mentioned briefly that while disgusting and disappointing and not cool and certainly manipulative, that it wasn't gaslighting what we saw between Brendan and Piper. Obviously, people didn't necessarily always agree with that. But like we talked with Dr. Solomon and we talked with Dr. Diane, we got to stop with this defining, well, something that's not. Here's my problem with why with this misdiagnosis with gaslighting. One, as we learned from Dr. Solomon, it's not even in their manual of things you're supposed to diagnose, and yet society is now taking the phrase gaslighting and attribute it to a type of emotional relationship abuse, which, yeah, if you are gaslighting someone, I would agree that would be a form of an abusive characteristic, true gaslighting, right? A systematic way of making your partner or someone in your relationship with feel like their reality is not true. And yet we're finding, someone sent me this Instagram post of this large Instagram account, and it says, what does gaslighting sound like? And they gave examples, and they had a guy talking to a woman, and part of the phrases that they defined as gaslighting were someone saying, I was just kidding, or why are you getting so defensive, or apparently saying I never said that is gaslighting to this account, or you're too young to understand. That's just condescending. Amanda, you made a great point earlier.
Which is just that, those are phrases that could be employed by gaslighters, but they're not exclusively. So it's just because you're coughing doesn't mean it's COVID. It could also just be a cough. And I think it's it's really helpful to bring awareness to various forms of relationship abuse that have previously existed in silence and isolation. It's when it's not done with respect or attention to the variance, and when it's not doing it in a nuanced way, I think it can cause some real
problems. Especially think about it in your relationship, right? All of a sudden you're reading this Instagram account, and this Instagram account's you want to know what gaslighting is? It's when your partner tells you to move on, or I was just kidding. I mean, often as we know in relationships, we're both not listening to one another. We're not paying attention. We're in our own feelings. And so You're right. So all of a sudden we're going to start labeling our partners as gaslighters and potential abusers. And like, it's just such a slippery slope, and it's not solving any problems. And we've gone from like this movie about a man who systematically like drove his partner's mind crazy in order to like, you know, get her inheritance or whatever. And it's now become a societal thing that if your partner, you know, like again, when Katie was like, it's when someone makes you feel like you're doing something wrong. No, that's called an argument. I think we just need to be really careful about that. I only bring that up on our Ask Nick episodes because, you know, it's just such a slippery slope. We've become so prone to, you know, through social media, through TikTok. So like, you know, what is gaslighting? What is manipulation? What is narcissism? And we're spending all this energy trying to diagnose all these people around us. And if you've been following this show, we spent a lot of effort and time trying to think about what we can do and how we can look at our situations more honestly so that we can control what we can control. Like we want to have as much power as we can in any of our situations. And the only thing we really control is how we listen to our partners, how we communicate, the choices we make, whether we want to stay in a situation or whether we want to leave a situation. And, you know, diagnosing everyone around us is gaslighting is not, it's just not the answer.
Right. And like bad behavior exists on a spectrum, and nobody is saying that like those lesser or weaker parts of the spectrum aren't still bad, but I think it is important to differentiate and also to include like context, because every relationship psychologist talks a lot about like the context of a relationship, the relational self-awareness, the interactions between two people. And this is a very like one-sided, reductive way of a really important and nuanced issue.
Totally. And if society was calling gaslighting as this like a type of style, that fine. But like because we're attributing it to a very specific type of like abuse, like if you go on the street and you were to walk past a couple and you heard someone say, "You're gaslighting me," you would be like, "Oh my God, what is going on?" You know, it's become a very, and rightfully so, it is a serious accusation. That's kind of the whole point. It is a thing, and it's a serious thing, and it's not like having a miscommunication, and it's not being condescending. Condescending isn't cool. It's a dick move. You can be rude, but it's not, I'm going to die on this vine.
This vine? You mean hill?
Hill, whatever. What is the phrase? Isn't it die on this hill?
I'm going to die on this hill.
There's a vine one too.
Maybe the vine is shriveling up.
I don't know.
You heard it from the grapevine?
No, you've never. It's okay.
Nick is like a fine wine. He's growing on this little vine.
Yeah. All right, we got a great episode for you that I just needed to rant about. Stop with these like random Instagram posts of what's gaslighting, and God, go listen to Dr. Solomon.
Yeah, so it's like PhD versus infographic. I don't know who's to say.
Die on the vine is in the dictionary as an actual phrase, Nicholas.
Fuck you two. Chrissy, we're sad to see you go. We're glad you're with us for a couple more episodes. Everyone send out your love and appreciation to Chrissy. We don't need her anyways. It's fine. It's fine. Sending your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K. Justin Long is back to help us break down Bachelor in Paradise, get his thoughts and all the Brendan and Piper
Wait.
scandal of it all. Be sure to tune in if the wonderful he's got a new movie coming out that him and his brother directed, and we'll talk about that as well as his thoughts on all things Bachelor in Paradise. And on Wednesday, a fantastic episode with the very insightful, knowledgeable, interesting Dr. Amen, who is a psychologist and an expert on the brain, and we talk about the brain and how we can take care of our brains and how we ignore our brain health so much and how we can change that and how much that affects our lives. And very fascinating conversation as it relates to our well-being, our relationships, so on and so forth. So be sure to tune into that. Always, we appreciate you listening. Don't forget to send in your questions. I think I mentioned that. Have a great day. Whatever. I don't know how to end this intro. Thanks for listening, I guess. I don't know. See, my
Follow you on TikTok.
Let's get to our callers. There you go.
Yeah, let's get to our callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Better now that I get to talk to you, Nick. Thanks for having this podcast.
All right, well, thanks for listening. What is your name?
My name is JC, and I'm 32 years old.
All right, how can I help, JC?
So I am 4 months into a situation with my husband. We have known each other closer to 13 years, been married almost 3 years, and in May of this year, he has cheated on me. And there's a little backstory as well. Yeah, out of the blue, blindsided, had no clue anything was wrong.
How did you find out?
It was a day in May that he was out till 4 a.m, which we don't do. He was out with coworkers, and then he got back late, and it's like I couldn't get a hold of him. I was spending my night trying to see where he was, and he wouldn't communicate back. And so he came back, and then he was just different. And for 2 weeks, he just got weirder and weirder. I came into our house one day after work, and all of our wedding pictures were turned around and taken down. Like I didn't know what was going on. And I found out after confrontation, basically, because enough was enough, and I didn't know what was going on. And then he, of course, told me some backstory. Well, what I'm calling it is he basically is having like a midlife identity crisis.
That's what you're calling it?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you calling it that? Why aren't you calling him a cheater?
So he cheated on me. Like all of this was dropped on my lap, and I was the one trying to get our counselors. We had done some counseling before we got married because of something that happened in the past a decade ago. I mean, it's a long time, it's a long history, but basically all of this was dropped in my lap. I was the one trying to communicate to him, trying to get people, that have helped us in the past. And the next few days he bought a motorcycle, drained our accounts because we've been trying to get debt free, like trying to do the adulting thing. And I allowed it. I was desperate. I didn't know what was going on. My husband, my best friend, became a stranger in moments. So that's why I'm calling it a midlife identity crisis.
Before we started this call, you told me that you went to Green Bay for your honeymoon. Was that his idea?
Ours. We're both Packer fans.
Okay. So you were just as excited. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And since you found out about the cheating, it sounds like maybe he's not even all that apologetic, or
that's what's like. I've read a lot. Like I've been doing this personal work, and yeah, he did not call it a mistake for many days. He's not apologized
at all.
Listen, and I don't think it's sincere. I don't think it's
so it's like, oh, I'm sorry, shut up kind of thing.
He gets very hostile when he talks to me, but this has basically been so hard on me. This was my first heartbreak, and it was just blindsiding. And I actually was the one that had made all the concessions. Like I quit my job. I've lost 30 pounds. I quit my job. I've been living back home.
When you say you lost 30 pounds, like healthy 30 pounds, or you're not eating because you're sad?
Not eating.
Okay.
Detrimental. Like I actually, the morning that he bought his motorcycle, I collapsed in the shower because I hadn't eaten in days, because it was just like I didn't know how to handle this. I had never been through anything like this, where he just walled up and shut me off.
You're in therapy right now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been seeing my own counselor, and then we're both seeing our relationship counselor separate. And that's another thing, is he keeps kicking the can down the road to when we can start tackling this together. I mean, you can only work on trust solo for so long.
What does your therapist say?
So I have had to bluntly ask them, does my husband want me in his life? Okay. My counselors, or at least our relationship counselor. And they assure me that yes, he does. If I ask my husband, he'll just say yes, but I don't know how it looks.
Has your therapist asked you, why do you want your husband in your life?
I mean, yes,
They have asked
mean,
that.
he's my, yeah, I mean, I'm still willing to fight for what we have. But
why? I mean, I get till death do us part. I get the Viall thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is sounding really bad.
I know. I wanted your take on it. but it's hard because like this is not the man I married, and I don't understand.
Okay, is like if you were to peel back some layers, I don't know, but you sound like there were some other things going on. Maybe it was the man you married, and now he's just comfortable enough to really show you, but he kind of already showed you maybe a handful of times here or there. It was more sporadic.
So we, being each other's first legit boyfriend, girlfriend, like we were very green, let's say, and growing up for 13 years together with trials and tribulations, we have something special. And there was one thing that happened in the past, a couple years into us, being something, that he trusted me enough to tell me something that happened in his past childhood situation.
Mm-hmm.
Being from a family where we didn't have secrets, or, I didn't know what I was getting into, and it came out. And so it was like this first betrayal. Well, we had done reconciliation before we got married, done the work, made sure everything was okay. And he said that resentment started bubbling back up.
What do you mean it was a first betrayal? Like, who betrayed who in this scenario?
I betrayed him unknowingly of this situation. So he had told me this secret.
He had a secret.
And
you were his girlfriend. He trusted you with
put a lot of trust in me. Yes. Newly, and so green and being in a relationship, not knowing how to handle information.
How did you violate it?
So a family member noticed a change in his personality. Like he felt like, it looked like the weight of the world was off his shoulders the next day. And she kept pressing me on what it was. And I left it as kind of like kids do dumb things kind of situation.
Uh-huh.
And then she took it to a different extreme, malicious intent. They had this huge family meeting on some stuff that came out, and we didn't talk to some family members for years because it just caused this huge, massive thing in their family. And it was the first time the family members had heard anything of this nature. Basically, something happened between brothers.
Yeah. I get that. And a lot of families have those types of, especially if it's shit that happened in the past. I mean, I think we're better at not hiding shit like that. Wanting to meet your fitness goals, get in the shape that you've always wanted to get into, but you don't want to join an expensive gym, or maybe you don't have equipment at home? Well, don't worry. Obey is a premium digital fitness platform that brings you the variety that you crave, the instructors you love, and the results you want to any screen, anywhere, with 15 class types such as HIIT, dance cardio, yoga sculpt, strength, and more. Obey has something for every mood, so you'll finally look forward to your workout and never get bored. Plus, with 10 minutes express workouts, a stacked daily schedule of live classes, endless on-demand options, and curated training programs, it's designed for every goal and any situation. It's super affordable, $27 a month or less. It's less if you sign up for their quarterly or annual subscription. Again, they have a bunch of classes that you can do without any equipment needed. Literally, there are thousands of no equipment classes, but you can always level up to the weights and resistance bands if you have that equipment at home. It's fun. It's easy. I like the variety that they offer. I'm always, for me, I'm a creature of habit, but it's never really good when you're coming to working out. So like the variety that Obey offers is actually really great to getting in shape and mixing it up, and you're training different muscles and doing different things. Always great. And that's one thing personally I love about Obey. Commit to yourself this fall with Obey Fitness. Obey is offering Viall File listeners a free 1-month trial. Just visit obeyfitness.com. That is OBE. fitness.com and use code VIALL. Trust me, there's no reason not to try it. It's free, literally free for a month. And what a better way to start getting into the shape that you've always wanted to with Obey. Whoa, it's Martha Stewart, it's Marley Spoon, and combined, they are bringing you curated variety of great chef-designed recipes by Americans' most truest home cook. It's Martha Stewart, everybody. She is the best, and Marley Spoon is not far off. And whether you are in the mood for classics like pizza and tacos, adventurous, flavorful dishes from around the world, or desserts, breakfast, or smoothies, Martha Stewart and Marley Spoon have got you covered. They got stuff for kids as well. They make it super and easy and convenient. Meals designed by their chefs are ready in about 30 minutes. ready to heat meals are ready in just under 5 minutes. And the best part is, they're all delicious. So get dishes from all over the world delivered right to your door, or enjoy comfortable classics the entire family will love. You can sign up today with code VIALL and get $100 off your first 4 orders. It's time to get back to normal, and that means back to busy. Simplify your kitchen routine with Martha Stewart and Marley Spoon, America's best tasting meal kit. Sign up today with code VIALL and get $100 off your first 4 boxes. If you're tired of rush meals and boring dinners, let Martha Stewart and Marley Spoon change that. Go to marleyspoon.com and use promo code VIALL to get $100 off your first 4 orders. That's $100 of free food just for using promo code VIALL. And trust me, it's a game changer. Everything's ready fast, and everybody loves the food. Check them out at marleyspoon.com today. I think the point of all that is, don't carry that like some sort of badge of honor or some reason to stay now because like you were the one person he trusted that with, and you have to be his rock, and whatever happened to him long ago like is not an excuse for him to be the way he is to you now. You know, how old are you again? I'm sorry.
32.
Okay. You know, like you have so much in front of you, you know, and you look like a tortured soul right now, and I really feel for you. And at some point, you just deserve to be happy with your life. You know, you deserve to be content, whether that's as a single woman looking for her second great love or in love, you know, whether it's him or someone else. Like, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve to have been cheated on. You don't deserve to not only have been cheated on, to be treated like you're doing something wrong or so helpless because he is so like indifferent to how he hurt you. You don't even know what to do. It's interesting enough. We talk about gaslighting so much lately and how we misdiagnose it, but in a weird fucked up way, this is like a gaslight in a sense because he's cheating on you and he is acting as if somehow you did something, like you feel crazy by how he's responding to how, like him cheating on you. And what a helpless, you're like, what do you do with that? It's just like, whoa, like it's like some sack on his part, right?
Well, I was in a shock state and I was a mess. And so it's really hard because it's like some of that stuff he holds against me, even though I was in shock. Can I say a couple of things that I've learned from my counselors as well on his part, because he is individually seeing our relationship counselor. 2 things. I had a conversation with him early on, like weeks into this, where he said, I'm 95% sure you'll be there when I'm ready for you. And he also said to me, I don't know if it's selfish to call you a fallback plan, and I'm his wife. And I think he was shooting his shot with this girl. And I'm just like, at arm's length, destroyed. So that's been like really hard. And I don't know your take on those comments.
Well, I mean, it's just a dick thing to say, you're his wife. Yes. And vows are only important to the degree in which the people treat them as such. If he doesn't value the vows that he said to you, doesn't really matter how much that meant to you when you said it to him. And you can't make up for his lack of effort in the relationship. You can only do 100% of your half, right? Yeah. And I think you just need to get to a place right now. All you're caring about is fixing the problem, making this marriage work, asking your therapist and his therapist, like, do we have a shot? Asking him. You're just at the mercy of him and everyone around you. You have no power. You're powerless.
Yeah, I have no control.
You have no control. I mean, even like the one, like when we get cheated on, and we find out in a weird fucked up way, that gives us even some power, because we can be like, you did something bad, and they can be like, I'm sorry, and they feel like, but you're not even getting that.
No, I can't. It like makes it worse.
But as soon as you accept the possibility that you can leave him and be happier, not only still happy, but happier in the long run, you will instantly get so much of that power back. Call his bluff. He's daring you to find something better to him. And I'll tell you what, there's plenty that it's better than him. Hey, guess what? Great news. You can now use PayPal at CVS right now because CVS has everything you might need. And sometimes when you're in a rush on your way to CVS, you might forget your wallet. I hate forgetting my wallet. You drive home and now you have if you have PayPal on your phone, bam, use your PayPal account to purchase whatever it is you want at CVS. When it's time to pay, why pull out your wallet or open your purse when you probably already have PayPal on your phone? PayPal code payments are now accepted at CVS stores nationwide. It's super easy to make touch-free payments with your phone. Plus, you get $10 cash back on your first purchase of $20 or more. Well, that's a steal. I can't count how many times I've forgotten my phone only to have to drive back, and now I don't have to do it because I have PayPal on my phone, and I'm at CVS, and it's busted out, and zing. It doesn't go actual zing, but in my mind I say zing, and I've paid for it. I'm on my way with my ointment and cereal or whatever it is I need at CVS. To get $10 cash back on your first transaction of $20 or more, just head to your local CVS and pay using your PayPal or Venmo app. That's $10 cash back on your first purchase of $20 or more with PayPal or Venmo app. To see terms and learn more about how to earn $10 cash back, go to paypal.com/VIALL. Ooh, it's each and every, and guess what I have in my body right now? Each and every. That's right, each and every deodorant, a natural deodorant made with the highest of ingredients, and the most important part is they don't have toxic, crappy ingredients like aluminum and other parabens and things like that. Many of us, including myself, are allergic to deodorants, and there's so many other toxics that go into antiperspirants, but ever since I found each and every, I've been able to smell good and have the peace of mind that I am putting quality ingredients on my body. And just so you know, your skin, if you don't know already, is your largest organ. And when you put it on your body, it goes into your blood. That affects your brain. It's just, it's just get a natural deodorant. And I'm a sweater. I'm active. And people tell me I smell great all the time. True story.
What are your favorite scents that they have?
Oh, cedar and vanilla is my favorite, but they also have cannabis and green tea, and quite frankly, all their scents smell great if I'm being totally candid with you. With over 15,000 5-star reviews, don't just take my word for it. Take 15,000 other people who think it's great. We have an awesome deal for you to get started. 30% off your first purchase at Each and Every. Just go to our special URL, eachandevery.com/VIALL, and use promo code VIALL30. Don't miss out on 30% off. Use promo code VIALL30 at eachandevery.com/VIALL. If you do anything today to better your overall health, do something so simple and change to the natural deodorant. Each and Every.
Well, I guess I'm just stuck because he's seeing we have a marriage counselor.
Mm-hmm.
He sees him separately. I see him separately. So that's why we're still
No, I get that. That happens.
Figuring this, but it's just so many contradictory things that are coming out right now. And so it's like,
well, I'll tell you why. Because right now, all he's caring about is figuring out him. He might be talking to a couples therapist, but I don't know what he's saying. But it sounds like coming from you, his priority is his needs, figuring himself out.
He's not even being honest.
Whatever. I'm just saying.
He's not being honest. I've found stuff just recently that's like, you're not even being honest with yourself. How do you expect to?
But that's not my point.
Yeah.
My point is his priority is him, and your priority is the relationship.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter how much therapy he gets if his priority is him.
It's him.
You're not even in the equation, it doesn't sound like. He literally said it's a fallback plan. And what is it going to take for you to start focusing on you?
Well, I have been.
Okay. But this
has been 4 months.
Are you open to the possibility of leaving him and filing for divorce and not waiting around for him and not?
I have a plan.
What's that plan?
I have a plan finally, which has taken months to get to. So I have been removed from my home.
Okay.
And my plan, I'm hoping this Thursday or Friday, actually, this is how recent this is, of getting a different job to bring me back to my home. And I want to kick him out because he hasn't had to be uncomfortable to really realize what's at stake.
Okay, but you're part of your plan. Hold on. Your plan is still trying to figure out a way to get through to him.
I've had to be super uncomfortable.
I know.
I've had to realize a lot.
But you aren't going to get your power. You're not going to get any of your power that you're so desperately trying to get, and you're not going to get any control that you're so desperately trying to get, and you have the right to have. You deserve that until your priority becomes your needs, because, you know, like, your relationship it's like it can't be worked on because he isn't a part of this. He's not focused on the relationship. It's not doing you any good focusing all this energy on the relationship. He's not focused on it right now. It's not even on his radar. He's not focusing at all, is my guess. So all this energy you're putting into the relationship, unfortunately, is waste. It's just being wasted. You're just throwing it away. You're spending all this time in the kitchen and you're immediately throwing it down the garbage disposal. No one's going to eat it, you know? Nothing.
So even just happening. To see, I mean, because I'll get back to my comfort zone with a new job.
Well, and then
see where pieces fall.
This new job do you like the job? Is it a better job?
It's hopefully a better job with more mobility, upward mobility.
I just really want you to try to focus on you right now. I mean, I don't know. Like, listen, this guy just seems like such a mess right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems incredibly toxic, and
I don't even know who he is anymore.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's neither. Either way, it's still who he is. It's not as confusing as you want it to believe it is at this point. It's just the answer. You would rather think you're confused and face the truth is that you married the wrong guy. But you're not alone. We all have some bad pickers. And you got screwed over. Unfortunately, like, you're a good person and someone bad, you didn't deserve it, but it still happened. You don't have to find meaning in it.
Yeah.
But you can do something about it. You can learn from it. You can move on. It's up to you.
No, it makes sense. I mean, each day it gets a little easier to see what the life would be like, without, but I still need to handle it together with him.
It's going to be better is what it is. It's going to be scary. It'll be lonely, but it will be better. Yep. I don't know what, unless I'm missing something. This sounds terrible.
It's been hard. It's been heart-wrenching.
But he's doing it. So again, you can start getting angry at him. And a life without him is better than a life with him. So many not guys like him.
Yeah, it's daunting. It's daunting to think what it would take to get back to, and you can never go back, but just the work that it would take also.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well,
thank you for your advice.
Stop wondering if he's going to ever take you back. Find the strength to move on if you can. Give your loyalty to people. And when it comes to this new job and this plan that you have, it's not about him. It's about you. What is this job going to do for you? He doesn't deserve what you've given him. And you know what? You don't have to regret anything up to this point, because you know what? Like you said, you've given him every opportunity to make it right. He didn't do anything about it, so now you have no regrets. You can now focus on moving on with conviction without any regrets. Nothing would have been different. You've given him every fucking opportunity and then some. Believe in yourself. You can do this. The choice is yours. I really believe that. It's going to take some time and it's going to be tough, but you can do it.
Thank you.
All right. Best of luck. How's it going?
Hey, Nick. How you doing?
Good. What's your name?
Josh.
Josh, how old are you?
I'm 32.
How can I help?
Yeah, Nick. So I've been seeing this girl. I'm in a situationship right now. I've been seeing this girl. I met her about 10 months ago.
Okay.
We hit things off pretty quick. I mean, a lot of stuff in common. So some backstory with her. She was married for about, I want to say like 8 years, separated for about 2.5 years.
Okay. How old is she?
She is 30.
Okay.
And basically, like, when her and I started talking, you know, she was very upfront with me. She was like, hey, one of the first things she said was like, hey, like, I'm this this dating thing's like new for me. It's like, I have more experience with it for sure. You know, I've been using online dates, dating apps and stuff like that. So definitely more experience than her. I mean, she was married. So I was like, that's cool. I was like, no problem. And she basically, you know, told me like, hey, I just want to tell you, like, I was married before. So got that out of the way off the bat. I was like, okay, girl's making a good impression. She's honest with me from the beginning. So we start talking. After about our third date, we had this great time. And she threw a curveball at me. She basically said like, hey, so I really like you. I like spending time with you. She was like really nervous and stuff when she was coming. We were like having a talk in my car after we went out to eat. And she goes like, how do you feel about seeing other people? And
on your third date?
Yeah. It's our third date at this point.
But she wanted to keep hanging out with you.
She did. Yeah.
Sounds like she's on Bachelor in Paradise.
yeah. So,
all right. What'd you say?
I mean, to be honest with you, it was like a first for me. Like, I never experienced that. I mean, I dated in my 20s. Like, I mean, normally, like, I'd be like, yeah, okay. But now that I'm like older, like, and I'm in my 30s,
sure.
I'm a more serious relationship. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, like, it's only the third date too. I'm just curious, like, what? I mean, it's kind of weird and bizarre because it's not that abnormal for people who are dating, who maybe have only been on a third date, to still be dating other people.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, people are taking fucking 6-12 months to define a relationship. You yourself, well, we haven't gotten the whole story. You're in a 10-month situationship, and yet on the third date, she's like trying to define expectations around the idea.
Right.
It's like, so I don't know. It's just kind of, but hey, she said she's new. She's trying to communicate. Maybe it's a little off. I don't know.
I mean, I had an honest response, and I said, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I know we've been hanging out because we were like talking on the phone a lot. Like, I'm talking like hour-long like not
sure.
hour-long, like hours-long conversations on the phone and stuff like that. You know, I kind of made a joke of it, and I was like, oh, way to bring it up at the end of a date. You know what I mean? So
did she say it like, hey, I really like you and I want to see where this goes, but like, oh, I don't know, just like I was married for 8 years, so like, I don't know.
So let me, so I'll give you some context. I'll explain exactly what she said. So she said this, and then I said, you know, what's on your mind? Because she was like really, like, she was in tears, like telling me this stuff. Like, she was like crying, like she almost like was scared of like hurting me and stuff like that. And I was like, listen, it's all right. I was like, I get it. You know, I've dated long enough that, you know, I know, like, or whatever, but I was like, you know, I just wasn't expecting that at the end of a date. That's all. And then I said, I mean, are you seeing anyone else? And she was like, not exclusively, but there's this guy that I care about, and he like lives across the country.
Okay.
Right. Like, so we're both East Coast people. He lives on the West Coast. Right. So then I was like, all right. And then I didn't really want to like pry too much into the guy situation because, you know, like, I like this girl. So I was like, all right. And then like, I didn't talk to her for a few days. I did take her home, and I was like, you know, kind of like, you know, let me think about things and stuff like that. So then a few days later we talked, and, you know, I again told her, I was like, hey, I'm sorry if I reacted. I just didn't know how to react. Sure, I'll be honest with you. I just didn't know how to react. And I was fully transparent. And then I said, I was like, listen, I like you. I definitely see this, you know, if you're down to continue hanging out, I'm down for that. Right. And then like about 3 days later, she came over, and like we hung out again, went out to dinner, and then like hung out a few times after that. Actually, I would say our fifth date, that's when we had sex.
Okay. So question, between the time, so up until she tried to, like, she popped this like, hey, do you want to see other people? There's this guy. You're describing it as like you went on 3 dates, but it was pretty intense in terms of like how much you were talking.
Right.
Right.
Like, it was
did the intensity continue, or did you keep hanging out, but things were like, you know what? Yeah, we can hang out, but maybe we don't need to talk all day, every day. Or did that also continue?
That also continued. Yeah. It was straight up like we were texting every day, like talking every day, you know, making plans to hang out, go out to dinner, go for hikes and stuff.
Well, so we'll get into but just for the benefit of hindsight.
Okay.
I would have recommended to, like, that's cool that you want to keep hanging out with her. And that's super mature. You're like, you know what? You're right. We're dating. Yeah. Explore your options. I kind of want to keep hanging out. I'm not in love with you either. I don't know where this is going. That's super cool. But it might have made more sense for you to be like, but maybe let's slow things down. you know, like, I don't want to get you to choose me because I'm going to like bombard you with me. And, you know, not that you were doing that, but she was, you know, an equal party, but like it might have been beneficial for you to say like, it's all good. I really appreciate you telling me this. And I definitely want to keep hanging out with you. But like, you know, like I want you to do whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe let's slow down a little bit and made yourself slightly less available because that's what she's asking for, you know, and not, you didn't have to like be immature about it or anything, but that might have been a more appropriate response to that, right?
Sure.
Because she's changing the dynamic, so that dynamic should have changed at least a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
All right, go ahead. So on the fifth day, you hook up.
Yeah, we hooked up, so it did progress. So we kept having sex after that, but it was like, it wasn't like so here's one thing she also said. I mean, she was married for so long, right? That she didn't know like casual. She was trying to define it as casual, but it was like, I mean, I've been on casual dates, you know, I think most guys have, right? And it's like, when we're casual, we, you know, when we're sleeping with somebody, we're sleeping with them. And we're like, always like, you know, I was treating her more like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like when we had sex, like instead of like her, like, you know, kicking her out at the end of the night, I was kind of like, yeah, you can stay over, you know, like sleep over my house, whatever, you know, go home tomorrow. And she'd like cuddle with me and like, you know, it was cool. Like, you know, we were just cuddling, having pillow talk and all that stuff. We were like talking, like we actually talked about real stuff. You know what I mean? Had conversations. Like it wasn't just sex.
Yeah, you liked her and you were like, I could see myself dating this girl. And maybe somewhere it was more casual in the past, you might have been like, so like busy day tomorrow. Like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever bullshit.
So yeah, exactly. So like, you know, I would just, you know, like the next day, like I would just like, you know, be like, hey, like before, like she would start getting ready to go home or whatever. And then I'd be like, hey, you want a cup of coffee or something? And, you know, can I make you some breakfast before you go? You know what I mean? And then she'd, you know, she'd like stick around, hang out, and then like she'd leave, you know? Okay. So fast forward. So like, we're on this pattern for a few months now. And then
at any point between now and so we fast forward a couple months, now you're sleeping together, you're kind of playing boyfriend and girlfriend, but have there been any updates and conversations about like this other guy or boundaries or anything? Or are you just like pretending that doesn't exist?
That's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
Yeah. So
but so far, no.
So far, no. Yeah. One of the last times we had, I think it was the last time actually that we slept together. She was like really nervous to like have sex. And then she was kind of like, hey, maybe we should slow things down. Right. And I mean, we did end up sleeping together that night anyway, but like, you know, like it was just like, I was like, what do you mean? You know, I was like, what's going through your mind? Like, you know, talk to me, like, tell me what's up. And then she was like, she started saying like, I don't want to hurt you. And I just like, you know, I don't really know what I want right now. And like, this is all new for me. And I was like, I totally get that. I totally respect that. I was like, so then we kind of started trying to define it. It's like, well, what are we? Like, are we going to be casual? Are we going to be like, I asked her, like, what do you want? Like, I didn't define it. Like, I just said, like, what do you see this as? You know, are we friends with benefits? You know what I mean? Like, cause I kind of need to know, you know what I mean? So she was like, yeah, like I want to be friends with benefits. And I was like, okay, you know, and then since we agreed on that, then that's when we had sex. And then like, it was basically like the same, then we went back to the same thing. Then like, about
did you
2
really
weeks
want
later,
that when you agreed to it?
At the time, I was okay with it at the time.
But what did you want? Not what you were okay with.
To be honest with you, I definitely want to date this girl.
Okay.
Like definitely 100%.
That's good to say. It's good to like,
No, I know it feels, like, I don't want like, no, I'm very, like, I'm a transparent person. Like I, you know, my friends know that about me. Like I'm very open and stuff. Like, yeah, I do. I didn't want to scare her off and be like, you know, hey, let's date. You know what I mean? So like, I was just kind of like, let's see how this plays out.
I mean, I want to ask you, because this is great, right? We get male callers a lot. We get more female callers, but a lot of the guys who call are more on the inexperienced side or whatever. And so like, here you are, you're dating, you're a good looking guy, you're out there, you know, and yet a lot of what you're saying, a lot of the women who've called in have found themselves in a very similar position, right? And here you are, a transparent guy, as you say, you know, you're an open book. But when you found yourself in a situation like this, you chose not to be open, and you chose to worry about being afraid of scaring her off, even though you had already been hanging out for 5-6 months now, right? Sleeping together. Like, this is not a rush to judgment decision to say, I like you.
Yeah.
And I get you've been divorced, but like at some point, like you either need to like me back or you're not. And but I want you to know I like you. And you chose I guess we could have sex.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, we all men and women are doing this. And I think it's a reminder. You're unfortunately, thanks for falling on the sword. It's a good lesson. But yeah, like I just think it's important to like articulate that you wanted to date her and you chose to accept less than what you wanted, which we talk a lot about. Yeah, I mean, listen, like she definitely needs or wants to be a fuckboy right now, and the only way to like get a fuckboy's attention is to fight fire with fire, right? And I don't think you should really do that because that would be kind of toxic energy. I think you just have to have the willpower to say no, to set boundaries. I get you like her. I get she, but like you're caught up in this game. I mean, she's doing it all like she's being a master fuckboy right now. She's saying just enough and she's showing signs of maturity, but also like sprinkled with a bunch of selfishness, right? And she's being just enough honest to be like, I told you, and being upfront, but like still giving into her own needs. Like when she misses you, she'll reach out. When she wants to have sex with you, she'll have sex with you. And you're just always there. You're always saying yes. You're always available. And and I get it. You're just like, well, I'm a nice guy and I'm like, I like her. What's wrong with hanging out with a girl I like? And she's being upfront with me. So, okay, it's my choices. But she, girl or guy, we're all just humans, right? And you don't have, like I know a lot of guys are more notoriously known for doing what she's doing to you, but like there's a lot of fuckboys that are girls out there. We actually said that to an earlier caller. And so she is being selfish and she doesn't sound like she wants a boyfriend right now, and maybe doesn't need a boyfriend, but she's also likes the comfort you provide, the security or whatever when you are hanging out. And he provides this, and maybe there's an element of excitement because he's on the East Coast. And no matter what she says about like, that's not it, there is definitely an element of you being local and convenient. And you're filling that role, and he's, the fact that she's able to like, well, he's on the East Coast and I can't really date him because I don't want a long distance. She probably doesn't want to date either of you right now. The only way she's going to wake up and realize that you're the guy she wants to date is to think that you might be gone, that she lost you. There's nothing more you can do to get her to like you. It's been going on for 10 months. You've been hooking up. You've tried to take her on dates. You've been compassionate and empathetic to the fact that she got out of a divorce. Like that ship has sailed. That's no longer a valid excuse. You know what I'm saying? And then if it's shit that she's still dealing with it, then that shit she needs to work on outside of any relationship with anyone. Certainly not with you. Right? Yeah. So like it's no longer, this is not like she's like, hey, I really like you, but just be patient with me because I had some shit going on, but like I like you and I want to be with you. And that's fine. People can work on their own shit while they are getting to know someone else, but she's using an excuse to be selfish. And it's not an excuse to be selfish just because we have some our bullshit is not a valid reason to be selfish. And that's what she's doing right now. That's how she's using it, right? It's no longer an excuse. Like, congratulations, you were divorced, join the club, and maybe she has some shit to work on. But you've been patient and kind and more than empathetic, and now you just need to say no to her. And you definitely don't reach out, and you definitely don't like make the connect. Even if she reaches out to you, I mean, the best, if I were your friend, and I think to think of you as my friend, I would tell you to just be like, hey, listen, be super chill. I think you great. And if I haven't made it clear to this point, I really dig you. In fact, I'd love to make you my girlfriend. Put yourself out there. It's going to hurt a little bit if she rejects you, but like you won't have any regrets. But you need to say it. You need to get it out there. If you haven't said it already, you need to put it out there. And make her choose. And she probably will, if she's a fuckboy, she's going to say no at first. Mm-hmm. She's going to be like, I can't. And then you be like, cool. and then you walk away. And short of her knocking on your door and saying, I'm ready to commit to us, I want to be with you. And yeah, we might hurt each other, but like this, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt you. Nah, that's bullshit. That's a line. She's giving you a line.
She's giving me a line. Yeah.
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 And
that's
so,
what my buddy told me too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, you know, like, listen, she's been through a lot, whatever. She's not a bad person. She just needs to be a little selfish right now. And you've allowed her to be more selfish than she deserves. And part of you liking her is definitely not being able to have her to a certain extent. I'm sure she's nice and great, but like, just like,
yeah,
it's addicting.
It's addicting for sure. And like, I just, and I mean, she does know how I feel. I mean, at the end of the day, I will say, like, she knows I have feelings for her. I did say it, she knows I like her. And I think at that point, that last time we hung out was when I just said, like, literally, we just had a friendly hangout, kept it as friends. I was like, I even like pay, I didn't even pay for the bill. Like, I just was like, we're splitting this, like, and I was just like, hey, it was good seeing you. Have fun on your vacation with your family or whatever you're doing with your friends. Talk to you later. And then I left. And then at that moment, like, I was just like, yeah, I'm probably going to start this no contact thing and just not talk to her until she reaches out.
Yeah. And if the reaching out part that's the important part. Okay. If she reaches out, she needs to be coming 100. Like, she can't you do not let her back in your life on her terms. You've already done that. She's done that. She's gotten right. It's, what do you want out of this? And you should get everything you want out of this for her to be back in your life. So if you want a relationship, go ahead.
So what if I do, if like she comes back, she just tries to do the whole like, hey, how have you been? Let's hang out,
No. I like you. It's great. Yeah. I'm glad you're doing well. I still like you. If you're willing to give this a shot, I mean, a real shot, I mean, like full on, then we can hang out. And if not, it's okay. But I have lots of friends. I don't want to be your friend. I don't even need you to be my fuck buddy. I'm doing really well in that department. Whatever the truth is, it doesn't matter. And like, nah, zero. All of her, none. You've already given her plenty of half of you, and you're giving all of you, and you're getting half of her. She's, no more. It's not, and I'm telling you, this could go on for years if you don't listen to my advice. I mean, I have a lot.
That's why I called.
Yeah.
That's why I called. I wanted some outside perspective.
She's I've had a lot of friends that have been in a situation like that, and they'll just, and it's always the same thing. I just got out of a relationship and blah, blah, whatever. And as long as you let her be selfish, she will be selfish.
You brought up a good point too about that, like about being selfish and using the whole like divorce thing as an excuse too. Like that really stood out to me too. Like, because maybe I think that like looking back, like maybe that was the reason why I didn't tell her right away, because like I was like, well, she's divorced, she's like,
sure, yeah,
she's got a marriage, like she's
trying to be a nice, empathetic guy, and and she's not like a bad like we all will continue to use excuses as long as people allow us to use them, even after that excuse has expired. And until someone holds her accountable, she's going to keep being like, I got a divorce, what can I do? And people are like, oh, poor you, but at some point that shit expires and you have to hold her accountable. And until you do, she is not going to hold herself accountable. Yeah. Zero tolerance policy on this one. You've done enough, you got to stand your ground, man. If you're not, you could be this guy in a year.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I definitely want to like, I have been doing things for myself though. I've been like going to the gym, working out, like hanging out with friends, going out as much as I can, going on dates when I can, spending time with my family. Like I'm doing that. It's just, creeps up on me. Like that feeling of,
but my guess is she's a total liability right now. She has some shit to do. And I don't know what happened in her life or her divorce or whatever, but maybe she didn't process that divorce. I don't know if she's in her, like, who knows, but like she's acting like she has some shit to figure out and she hasn't figured it out yet. And you've tried, you give it your best effort, but like she's a liability. And that's why, I mean, like she would have to be very clear what she wanted for you to even listen, because short of that, it's just, you're just going to be something that she's going to need for a moment. And then when she doesn't need that anymore, she's going to do the same bullshit again.
That's exactly what I've been feeling, honestly. Like I think that's what I was like trying to come to the realization. I was like, well, maybe I was just a rebound,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, in a way, not, you added value for sure, and that's all right. Like, no regrets. You liked her, you gave it a shot, you invested in it, and it didn't work out. You're still young. You find,
Yeah, it's no regrets. It's just, I guess the thing that shocked me was like how close we got, like about, I mean, like I don't tell my fuck buddies about, like what's going on in my family, like maybe, and she was saying things like, maybe you'll meet my sister one day. I think you guys would be best friends and stuff like that. It's like, she's like breadcrumbing me.
Yeah. Watch
She's
out
like
for
breadcrumbing
maybes.
me.
Yeah. Maybes are, yeah. Again, she's definitely in a fuckboy stage of her life.
And I feel like I'm getting breadcrumbs, to keep
probably.
me around.
Yeah, sure. Whatever, all the things fuckboys do, she's doing it. She's a fuckboy.
Yeah.
And that's okay. She's in a fuckboy stage. But now you need to accept that and move on. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's probably good for you. You'll be even more empathetic I'm sure you fuckboy someone before.
I have in my 20s.
Yeah. It's like, it's fine.
I didn't expect it. I just didn't expect it in the 30s,
It's okay.
So,
well, until you find your person, and that could be tomorrow or that could be 5 years from now, it'll just be a lot of back and forth. But you have your answer here. Your answer is clear. She is definitely not it for you. And unless something drastically changes on her part, and she needs to do kind of all the work, because you've done all the work already. You can't be like, it's going to be very clear.
Yeah.
I'm ready for you. Here's what I regret. Here's what I've learned. Here's why I think I'm ready. Here is why I wasn't ready before. I hope you're still interested in me. Let's make it work. That all needs to come from her, not you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah.
All right.
It's just
time to move on, I think. It's okay. And like I said, most likely it's just a fucking mess for you. It's a landmine for you. And I'm sure she's great overall, but she needs to work through some shit out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I guess the whole 3 month of not talking to her kind of got to me a little bit. Yeah. So like, and then I kind of feel antsy, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to call her.
Don't fucking do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence for sure.
All right. Definitely don't do it.
I will not call her. I will not reach out.
Good job. All right. And just keep on dating and keep going. And eventually, like, that's the thing. It's so easy to get discouraged, because between her and some other girl you're going to be super into might be 30 fucking 40 dates. I don't know,
True.
So, but just be patient.
I will.
All right, buddy. All right. Take care. Thanks for calling.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Bye-bye. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Jenny. I'm 23.
Jenny, how can I help?
Backstory a little bit. Me and my ex dated for 4.5 years, like all through high school and a little bit into college. I kind of decided that I wanted to go into college not dating anyone, because I was in my 20s, and he was older than me. He was kind of finished already, and I didn't really get the experience, because he was kind of like, well, I don't want you doing that, and I don't want you doing that, and this and that and the other. And I didn't really like that. So I left. Then I started dating someone new, maybe like a few months later. We spent 3 years together. We moved in and we broke up like after 2 weeks of me living there. It was like a weird situation. And then I contacted my ex maybe 3 or 4 months after, maybe. Yeah. And
Why?
Because he had been messaging me a few times before then, like trying to get into contact with me. But obviously I was in a relationship. So like, obviously boundaries. I'm not going to do that to my
But he was
other.
popping in, so it wasn't completely random that you reached out to him.
No, like he was randomly like messaging me every so often. He would try and call me like on blocked numbers and stuff. Like,
so after a few months of you being single, you got bored and lonely enough to respond to one of his messages.
Perhaps,
okay,
yes.
That's fine. Still okay.
He replied back, and like he was like talking to me about how he had kind of grown up a little bit since then. And I was like, I mean, we can kind of take it like slow or whatever, like not really go like driving too deep into anything right now, because I just got out of a relationship that obviously lasted for a while. I wasn't looking for anything serious again, and we had already had previous issues that like we had addressed like in that initial conversation. The initial conversation was probably like an hour, going over like everything that kind of went wrong and why I left, and like his just like toxic behaviors of like kind of putting me down in front of people, and like just acting a certain way because I was younger than he was and he felt like he could, I guess. I'm not really sure.
How much older was he? Is he?
He's like 4 years older than me.
Okay. So you're just kind of condescending, either on purpose or on accident.
Right. And it would just be like, well, you just don't understand that part of life yet, or yo, you just don't get
Sure.
that. And I'd be like, all right. And I'd be like, well, I still want to go do that. So thank you. As time went on, it was like the first couple months was fine. And then I guess he just got comfortable again and he started pretty much asking all these questions about like why I wasn't responding fast enough or why I wasn't spending as much time with him or like things like that. But like I'm in school full time, so like I don't really have time like to like sit here and coddle people every 5 minutes, if that makes sense, which is why I said that I didn't have time in the first place and why I said I kind of wanted to take it slow and just like work on things. But he was like immediately wanting me to like commit, and like almost half the messages that like he sent me, it's like, I was just trying to get you to commit, I was trying to get you to do this, that, and the other. And I was like, I already told you like that I didn't want that. So like I don't really know where the miscommunication came from. But yeah, it's just been like this big mess. And then as I said before, he just messaged me like maybe 10 minutes before this conversation. So he still messages me on and off for like several weeks and like won't stop calling me or texting me. So
These are all messages from him.
yeah.
Are you not responding? And these are just all from him?
Yeah.
Without any response?
I responded one time, and that was at the very end. Like my missed call logs are mostly him, and I think I've had over 100 missed calls in the past like month and a half.
That's a little nuts, no? And you're worried that you're an asshole?
I mean, slightly, and like I just don't know like how to like communicate better, I guess. Like I'm just like, I've communicated everything that like in the beginning I was upfront about my feelings. Like
because you sent me pages, like literal pages of him
hers
texting.
is on hers response, Nick, is on the last page.
I'm curious. I'm curious. I'm gonna read your response first because regardless of what he said.
Mine was a little bit condescending because I was really fed up with that at that point.
Yeah, I get it. All right.
I mean,
yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna read it. No judgment. You're fine. So far, I don't think you're an asshole at all.
Go ahead.
If you're wondering. Yeah, it can't be the fact that you argue with me during class almost every other time. You get a tone with me whenever you feel it necessary. You say shit like that to gaslight the hell out of me because you know how it felt and apologize. What do you mean by gaslighting?
So like every time that like I don't respond, he'll continue to like make jabs at me. It'll be like, well, this is why it never works out because you are always like ignoring like the fact that it's always about what I do wrong, never about what you do wrong, and like that kind of thing. Okay. Or it's always about like why you can't be with me. Like that's like stuff he says in order to like get me to respond.
Gotcha. It's not really gaslighting, but we're learning about gaslighting as we go. No judgment. There's a lot of people who get it wrong, but he definitely is being a little bit manipulative and dickish and not respecting.
Right.
Not respecting your position on the fact, like you don't need a justifiable reason to not like him or not talk to him.
Right.
You know,
I think it's just because like we were together for so long that he thinks that he can like say these things.
Yeah. Then you get mad and you can't accept the fact that I won't put up with that shit anymore. Like, is it not that? Don't discount how you made me feel before and now because your little friends are only. Okay, it gets cut off. I see. You're only because your little friends are only getting one side and have never. Oh, so he gave you the even my friends agree with me bullshit.
Yeah, it would be like because like I would go over and like his friends would be like, well, I know what you said to him and like all this stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I would say it again. Like I don't say it to just say it.
You don't want to date this guy, yes?
No, like not anymore. And I like have communicated that, and like he texted me last Monday.
What did he just text you now?
He just texted me, "Can you talk?"
So I'm literally getting pages and pages from you from this. I mean, does he like he calls you like crazy, he texts you like crazy, and you've gave him one response?
Yeah.
So this is like, are we bordering on harassment here? Like, I mean, it sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, and like this is like kind of like why I ended things in the like first place, because he was like this when we first broke up the last time, and just kind of like making the subtle jabs at me, and like would like send me like things to my school, or like send me concert tickets, or send me things randomly, like to try and get me to talk to him, because I would block him on things. And like that's the thing, is I would block him, and like then he would just find another way to like contact me. So that's why I don't even bother blocking him, because it's just like it's pointless. Like he's just gonna try and
Have you
email me or something.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere. Have you made it clear to him that you don't want to be with him?
Yeah, it was like all before all of those messages I sent, like I called him first and I was like, I don't think this is working. Like obviously like you can't communicate well, and I already communicated what I wanted out of this, and you're not understanding that. So like I just think we need to be done. It was like good while we had it, but like obviously this isn't working. And he like freaked out and like started like crying, and he's like hyperventilating on the phone, and I just like hung up. I was like, I can't deal with this right now. And then he kept calling me and calling me. He's like, I'm having a panic attack, blah blah blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, and I didn't say anything. And then the next morning, that's when all of those messages came through, and that happened for like 3 weeks, like a couple weeks straight. Like those are like messages like varying from like a couple weeks, at least like 5 or 6 per day.
I don't want to be careful not to come down too hard. I mean, because first of all, I just want to make sure you're safe, and you're not really worried about this guy doing anything dangerous.
No.
I mean, what you're sending me is, I mean, he's freaking out clearly, but like we've all freaked out, and he's having a moment, right?
Right.
His actions aren't I'm not justifying his actions at all, but like he's not in a good spot. I don't think you're being an asshole at all. You know, maybe you could be a slightly better communicator. I mean, we all can, you know, even little at this point, you don't have to talk to this guy at all. You don't owe him anything at all. So you like maybe the best option is to just block him on all aspects. And if you do choose to talk to him, the thing is, like, and you maybe have been in this position before too, or maybe you will in the future. Like when we're very like emotionally vulnerable and hurting, you know, he is only paying attention to certain things that you're saying, and you could be saying one thing and you think it's the most clear thing, and he's hearing it totally different. So you're saying things like, I don't think we communicate very well, or maybe I'm not getting through to you. I don't think this is working, or some version of that, right? And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's just like, oh, okay, well, how do I hear her? How do I fix this? The way you're saying it almost makes it seem like it's fixable. Well, I just have to understand her. That's why he keeps calling and reaching out, because he's just like, oh, can we talk? Because then I want to figure it out. Fuck, I'm getting it wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to find the words, or he's trying to process his emotion. He's just a mess right now, but that's what's going on in his mind most likely. And I'm just trying to provide some context of why he looks like a madman with all these text messages.
Yeah.
If you do choose to talk to him, my only point that out is to just be very, at the risk of sounding cold, just you got to be very clear. I don't want to see you anymore. I think you're a great guy, blah, 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 but there's no future for us. You know, you need to be that direct, and you don't have to give him a reason. You've given him reasons. You've tried. He's not in a position to hear those reasons. You just have to let him know. Now, again, I'm not saying you owe that to him or you need to say that to him, but that's really the only thing you should be saying to this guy going forward. There's nothing he can do to fix it. He doesn't have to work on anything. You know what I'm saying? Don't give him a task. And I'm not saying you are, but that's how he's hearing it.
Right.
You know? And he needs to work through this shit. You know, someday he's going to wake up and realize he was acting like a psycho. I've been there, you know, and he's just, I mean, it seems a bit unjustified, but
Yeah, like with most of mine, I was like telling him, when I was like, because like I started going to therapy and I started doing all these things, and I was like, and I don't want my progress to be hindered by like you're not having progress. Like, you're not in therapy, you're not doing these things for yourself.
But even something like that, I get,
like I am.
You're not doing anything wrong, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, having those type of conversations with him this is why you feel like you're talking to a wall.
Right.
Because you are like, you're just telling him things that he might be able to do to fix and get what he wants. And you don't want to, like, the point is, it doesn't matter. You don't need to like, it's also that you're working on yourself. This is not your guy. You know, this guy has work to do. He has some growing up to do, probably some therapy, you know, unfortunately, you know, it's like a lot of young people do, you know, unfortunately we don't realize, like, we don't get the maturity often. Like, good for you. You're young and you're in therapy already. Like, a lot of people in your position don't do that.
Right.
He just sounds very emotionally immature right now. As a lot of young men are. You know, I'm just paraphrasing his text messages. He just, he's in his feelings, right? It's all about his feelings. So everything you're doing is making him feel a certain way.
And that's what I've always stated in the past. I'm like, it's always about like how you feel, and it's never like the opposite effect. And I was like, if you ever take into consideration like how I'm feeling, then maybe you can see that, but like, you don't. So like, and that's kind of been like the conversation that we had at the initial like beginning, because like he was never taking into consideration like the things he would say or the actions he would have would be towards me.
I mean, you are not his therapist, parent, friend, or whatever. You need to stop explaining to him what he's doing wrong or what he needs to do right.
Right.
So, and I get why you've tried, and he's almost even forced you to try, because you're just trying to like calm him down and get him to see your point of view. But you have to like, you really, I mean, again, I don't think you need to respond to this guy, but if you were to respond to his last text, when his last text is, can we talk? I just say, hey, listen, we've been through a lot. I'm not like, I don't think that's very good. I'm moving on. Don't say you want to move on. I've moved on. I'm like, this is not a relationship I want. I think you're great, but you're not for me. And I really think over time, you'll see it that way. I wish you nothing but the best. And leave it at that. And if he responds with anything other than okay, and I doubt he will say that. But,
see, his thing would be like, so you say that you're moving on, like, who's the other guy?
No,
like,
then you block him. Like, then you block him.
Yeah, that would be his response. Like, that's why I've ignored him altogether, because like, I mean, if he like sees like a picture of me, or if his friends see me out, they'll take pictures of me like with like my guy friends. And then then he like wants me to explain that they're my guy friends, but like we weren't together for so long, so he doesn't know that they're my guy friends.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
yeah, I mean, you need to, I think you like, need to block them. You know,
yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to send that one very clear thing, and no matter how he takes it, like, someone needs to like explain to him that you're gone. And the blocking thing might be, I don't know, people could see it as like he'll call it ghosting. You know?
Yeah.
I guarantee he'll be like, she ghosted me.
No, he'll call me like immature and say that like I literally just didn't want to work anything out with him, and that I didn't really give him the time of day.
I really think, if you're comfortable with it, I think replying this text message saying, I don't think that's a good thing. Nothing's going to change. I've moved on. I really appreciate the time you've had in my life. Please respect my wishes. You should say that. I've moved on. I think we both should move on. Please respect that. I wish you nothing but the best. And then if he doesn't respect that, you block him. You're going to have to block him, but.
Yeah, I figured I would have to block him. I mean, I blocked him like before, but then it just turns into like, he gets like text now numbers or emails me or something. So I'm
try to block him on all those. You can change your email. You can change your number. It's a mild inconvenience in the grand scheme of things. But just look out for yourself. You know, and I think he's fine. It doesn't sound like he's a dangerous guy, but like always tell friends, you know, always just make people aware. He's just a little nuts
My
right
friends
now.
are very aware.
Yeah,
My best friend doesn't not a fan.
He'll get over it eventually, but what he needs to do is he needs to know it's over, and he just doesn't think it's over. And I'm not.
Right.
You're not doing anything wrong. You're not. I want to make it clear you're not doing anything wrong. But he is over analyzing and over critiquing everything you're saying to find hope. And it's delusional and it's little nuts right now, but he's just a mess. Make it very clear and then block him.
Okay. I can do that.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Best of luck.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
How's it going?
Hi, Nick. My name is Lauren, and I am 29 years old.
Hi, Lauren. How can I help?
For background, about a year ago, I moved home temporarily because it was COVID and I was working remotely.
When you say home, you mean like home to your hometown or in with your parents?
Both.
Okay.
I matched with a guy on a dating app and we started dating. We were in a city that effectively closed down due to COVID. So most of our dates were just like us hanging out at his apartment. We made the best of it and figured out ways to have fun. But yeah, it was a lot of hanging out in his apartment. We did have an exclusivity conversation a couple months into seeing one another, but it mostly centered on like the safety aspect of seeing each other indoors during COVID. We kept seeing each other and like I knew I wanted more and I wanted to define the relationship, but it was complicated because I was working remotely in a job based in another city about a 5-hour flight away. And there was a high chance I would move back to that city once offices reopened. So in March, like about 7 months into seeing one another, I asked him to make a decision. Either he was in with the uncertainty of my move and we would figure it out, or he was out. He ultimately decided he was out because the chances of me moving away were too high and he wasn't interested in a long distance relationship.
Okay.
So time passed and I made the decision independent of him because we weren't in touch at the time to quit my job in that faraway city and stay in my hometown to start my own business here. And I actually reached out to him a few months ago to meet for coffee to see if there was still something there. And there is. So we've been back in touch the past few months. And he's made it really clear with his words, at least, that he's really excited about me. He likes where things are going and that a relationship with me would be an ideal outcome. Also, keep in mind at this point, we've known each other a year and we've been seeing each other about like 8 of these past 12 months.
How often are you seeing each other? About
twice a week.
And so after over a year, why is he talking to you like you've been on 2 dates?
That's a really good question.
It's like that's something you would say to someone after like 2 nice dates. It's like, I really like you. I want to keep hanging out with you because I can see this going somewhere.
He feels like the time we spent apart from one another in some ways like kind of reset things, not quite to zero, but reset them in some way.
That's fair to a certain degree. How long have you been hanging out again? Like how long since you've rekindled this?
Like 2 months into round 2.
So you've been hanging out again. It's been 2 months and you've tried to define the relationship again, or you haven't yet?
So I haven't yet. And what I've learned, and this is sort of like what I want your input on, is that he has a very particular process for vetting the people that he dates. Like he wants to be really sure about someone before he takes the next step with them.
What is that process and how did you find out?
He told me that it exists. And the process is he just has to feel a certain way before he's ready for certain things.
Wait, hold on. I thought you said it was very detailed and specific, and now you're telling me it's just a feeling.
He said that it is a process that he kind of follows with all of the people that he's ever dated. And
did he lay it out for you?
No, the process is basically just he needs to feel certain ways before he's like ready to do certain things.
Okay.
Which like I'm all for. I believe in being sure about someone before, you progress with them. But I think this like
what did you say when he said that? What did you say? Like I have so many follow-up questions to that. I'm not even involved. Like weren't you curious to what that means?
Yeah,
it's so incredibly vague, and yet he says it like it's very specific.
I have probed, and the thing that he can tell me is that like he just has to feel really like so excited about someone that he can't wait to do this next thing with them rather than doing things ahead of when he feels ready.
I mean, if you listen to this podcast, he would know that maybe like the spark is something that he shouldn't be waiting on. Who knows? So where are you at with this?
I have kind of been trying to incorporate him into other parts of my life. Like I want to introduce him to my friends, and he sort of had reasons for why he wasn't ready yet. He had reasons for why he's not ready for me to meet his friends. And yeah, I mean, for me, I'm like just beginning to feel a bit like insecure and like very much doubt where I stand with him. And it's also like hard to be dating someone that doesn't want to progress in the same ways you do. So, I mean, like we're in a bit of a vicious cycle here where he's sort of like rationing these gestures, and like the forward momentum feels like very, very controlled. And then, I feel insecure. I sort of express that to him, and that like sets him back in the way that he feels like towards me. And it's like around and around we go.
It's not sounding good for you in terms of like, is this a guy you should be investing much more time in? Mm-hmm. He's done it in a way. It's such a fine line between, someone who has their insecurities for whatever reason about why he should date anyone or should date you, right? Nally and I have spoken a little bit in terms of like our courting process and how I dragged my feet a little bit, and I had my reasons why. And it was very like, she knew exactly why I was dragging my feet. You don't seem to know, like there's a feeling. So, again, I think people should take their time when they are getting to know each other. They shouldn't play house. They shouldn't get too ahead of themselves when talking about future plans, or they shouldn't feel like they have to introduce each other to each other's families because it's some sort of milestone. However, like, it should naturally progress. And if people do have a reluctance about dating a specific person or dating at all, they should be able to articulate it specifically what it is about the situation that they're dragging their feet. So what's unclear about this guy, and questions maybe you could ask him, is, okay, whatever feeling you're trying to capture, who's responsible? Like, whatever you're feeling or whatever you're trying to feel, as far as you and I are concerned, who should be trying to progress this thing? Do you think you should? Do you expect me to? Because, he might just be like, I just want things to happen. Things don't just happen. That's not, like he's not in a fairy tale or a movie. Either you choose to go on a date with someone, you choose to invest your time in one thing or someone, or you choose to invest it in someone else. You might be asking to go out. He's still choosing to say yes, right? So he could be planning dates, or he could at least reach out. Does he reach out to you to hang out?
Yeah, he often plans.
Okay, so he makes efforts, right?
Yep.
So then you should ask him as far as your expectation, you'd say to him, like, how do you plan on getting there with me, if at all?
Yeah.
Like, you have these expectations, there's this feeling you say you're looking for. How do you go about making sure? Because things don't just happen. And do you expect you to put yourself in a position, or are the things you're hoping that I do? Like, here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to keep guessing what it is you are looking for, or if there's something I should or shouldn't be doing. That's not fair to me. That's not a relationship, and that's only going to lead to confusion and frustration with both of us, but certainly with me. I understand that you want to take some time. Great, let's take things slow. But like, you're not really communicating with me. You're saying things to me, you're talking, but I don't leave with any more clarity than I did when this conversation started. In fact, I often feel more confused because you're talking about a feeling, but you're not articulating what that feeling is, right?
Right. And the conditions feel like very arbitrary. And then I sit across from him being like, am I being evaluated right now? Like, are we any closer to this feeling than we were a week ago? Like, it's a very bizarre situation to be in for me.
Are you, asking specific questions? Like, what is exactly, like, has he been in past relationships?
He has. His most recent relationship, he feels like he rushed into, and it wasn't a good one. And I think he's sort of like swung way back the other way in terms of like vetting, but he's had like 3 or 4 serious relationships, all of which he's ended. And then I think all of them but one took a very long time to become like proper relationships.
I think there's something you need to remember here is that when you were first hanging out, you set a boundary, whether directly or indirectly, by saying, hey, I'm going to be moving back. And as of now, I'm most likely going to be moving. So like, do you want to do this or not? And good for you for setting that boundary there. And he said, no. All right. You both were adults. You set a boundary. He set a boundary by saying, I don't want a long distance relationship. You went your separate ways. Something changed in your life. You circled back with him and you said, well, in case there's something there. And you said, well, there was. Well, I would argue maybe, yeah, I guess there was always something there. But what was there in the past was something that still wasn't good enough to make an effort for long distance. And like, yeah, that makes sense, long distance, but that should tell you something, that it wasn't there enough for him to make some sort of effort. So whatever is there when you came back is still something that's not like what he finds you to be right now is convenient. You're in his hometown. You're like, hey, well, I'm not going anywhere. So in the meantime, do you want to hang out? You know,
but then he's like found other like conditions that aren't quite meeting the mark, right?
Well, exactly.
Yeah. So like, is this something is this just like, this isn't my guy and I need to sort of cut my losses? Is this like,
probably
I gotta go
not?
in?
Yeah. Like there's a lot of red flags here with this guy. He's probably not your guy, but I think you could approach this as a great opportunity to practice, again, setting boundaries, standing up for yourself, having tough and awkward conversations, like getting good at asking him questions. Next time you go out, be like, all right, listen, you know, what does this mean? It's just ask him to clarify this stuff.
Yeah.
What exactly are you looking for? How do you think we should get there? Okay, it's fine. You're not there with me. I'm not even there with you. But like, it's very vague what you're saying. A place that you need to be. How old is he?
32.
You're a 32-year-old guy. I mean, and guys like a plan. What is your plan to get there with me, if at all? Because nothing just happens in life. You know, like, oh, just, you know, let's not force it. Let's just let it play out. Like, no, right. You know, that'd be fine for someone who's more carefree, but he's contradicting himself. He's talking as if he's like very like structured in his like evaluation process, even though it's incredibly vague. All right, so if you have a process, bro, what is that process? And whose job is to help you get there? He's probably going to contradict himself, but you need to call that out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And at the end of the day, you're just like, hey, like, I like you. I'm willing to make an effort here. I'm okay with putting myself out there. It doesn't feel like you are. Right. Because right now, the way you talk to me is if if you're evaluating me without any guidelines, without, you know, and we're, you know, I guess in a sense evaluating each other. But what I'm not willing to do is just be here at your convenience and just guess and throw, you know, darts against the wall and hope I hit a bullseye without ever seeing the target.
Right.
You know, he's got a moving goalpost, a moving target. You're fighting blind, you know?
Right.
And just saying no.
You talk a lot about power dynamics on this podcast.
We have lately, yeah.
And I feel like I'm like suffering at the hand of like these strict boundaries, and like I'm all for boundaries. I know that they're important, but I also feel like there's this odd like power dynamic playing out here where he's like gatekeeping certain things. So like, what's your perspective on sort of like balancing like healthy boundaries, but then also like balancing sort of like the power dynamics that can ensue?
Well, you know, the power is comes from what seems to be his lack of fear of you coming and going. Right? Like whether it's true or not, the inequality and power dynamic is that you seem to care more about making this work than he does. The impression he gives off is like if you chose to like leave tomorrow, like, you know, he'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like before, you're like, hey, I want to make this. I'm only doing long distance. He wasn't. He's like, okay. You know, he treats you like he'll hang out with you if you're available.
Right.
You know, he's not afraid of not having you in his life. Like I've always said, that can change drastically, but that is the situation you find yourself in now. And power shifts when you try to set a boundary and you aren't able to enforce it. Right. You know, so once you try to set a boundary and then you don't either have the discipline, willpower, courage, or fortitude to enforce this boundary you try to set, then you immediately lose power. That person is just like, see, powerless. You know, if you're like a castle and you're just like, you know, no trespassing, and everyone, you know, but like there's no guards, there's no security guard. And they're just like, oh, okay, cool, no trespassing. What are you going to do about it? Right. So that's when we lose power in relationships, when we lack the ability to enforce our boundaries. That's why you have to be careful. Like boundaries are great, but if you are going to talk about them, if you're going to try to set them, you have to be able to enforce them. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And so he is setting these boundaries. He's enforcing these boundaries by not committing, by, you know, and so you need to be able to push back and have your own boundaries. And those boundaries is I need someone who's communicate what your boundaries are. Like, what is this feeling, this evaluation process? Like, again, like I'm not trying to marry you tomorrow, but what the fuck do you want?
I've asked. I don't have a good answer to your question.
So yeah, if you've already asked these questions, then maybe it's time to walk away, or maybe you try it one more time. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's clearly avoiding having any expectations of himself in this relationship.
Yeah. I've even asked if he has expectations of me, and he like can't like vocalize them. Like he doesn't
want to have expectations of you because he doesn't want to have you have expectations of him. Like he doesn't want to, like, I'm not saying this is Machiavellian or but it sounds like he's very aware that he doesn't want to lose control or power. And he is comfortable he's comfortable with not getting anything from you. And he might want that, right? But he knows that if he gets it from you, you can expect it from him.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
There doesn't seem a lot there for you to be hanging on, you know, other than.
Honestly, I've like made that decision. I just I needed Nick's input on that. And I feel like maybe other callers could relate, or other listeners. So I wanted to call in. My last question is, these like early on milestones, like to me, they should feel really like easy and organic with the right person. If they aren't, like, should I be reading that as a sign of incompatibility?
Just depends on what they are, right? Not everyone, like when people say like, are you close to your family? Most people just say yes by default, but close is relative and it means a lot of different things. Yeah. Every family is different. You could be really close and not really. A lot of family members could be like, they don't really say I love you all that much to their parents, and they could still be incredibly close. You'd have a family, they always say the I love you to each other, but barely talk, right? So these milestones, or moving in together, or meeting parents, or like, it doesn't like, just because you go to their family's house on Christmas doesn't mean you're in love or have a healthy relationship, So those milestones, especially early on, don't really mean much. Oftentimes it's just a sign you're playing house, right? They're nice. Like if you have them, enjoy them, but they don't do anything, like they don't fix how you communicate. They don't do anything. They're just nice moments to enjoy if the relationship is healthy. You're like, oh yeah, we've been dating for a while, and I guess, you know what? Christmas is like, for example, like Nally and I have been dating for over a year. I usually go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanksgiving is a big deal for her family. And not that it's not a big deal for my family, but my family has started doing, like, all my siblings have started their own traditions and Thanksgivings, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're going to her families for Thanksgiving because it's really important to her family. And it's one of those conversations, but this is based off the fact that, like, we're just really happy with how things are going, and it's not for anything other than, like, it means something to her, but, like, it's not a milestone. We're not treating it like it means anything.
Yeah.
Other than, it's like a nice to spend time with her, and it means something to her, and that's why we're doing it. And then, but, like, especially early on, like, oh, guess what? He's finally coming home for Thanksgiving. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
People get really caught up in those milestones, and I honestly think for the most, they're very much meaningless and can be harmful if they don't go at the right pace. And the pace is dictated by the health of the relationship and how well you guys communicate and how clear things are. A lot of times people will try these milestones out to avoid actual conversations. A guy will, like, invite his date to a wedding to make her, like, to appease her and make her feel happy. So she'll find meaning in something that doesn't necessarily have meaning. Like, oh, he invited me to a wedding. It must mean something. And he's just like, I just wanted her to shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying that always happens, but that can happen, and it often happens. And it doesn't mean anything unless there is communication, unless the expectations are very clear. You shouldn't have to ask what it means. If you are curious of what it means, then it definitely doesn't mean as much as you want it to. That much I'm sure of.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. Well, thanks for calling. Give it one more go with this guy and have very clear boundaries and expectations, and start enforcing your boundaries regardless of what his boundaries are. And if they don't line up, then it's time to walk away.
That makes sense.
Thank
you.
All right. Best of luck.
Cool. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castmedia.com. Don't forget to follow us on social, TikTok. Hey, we're at 400,000 followers. Thanks for following along, guys. We put up some great stuff on the old Talker. Be sure to our social medias. Always appreciate you guys when you share on your social about our podcast. That's the greatest gift you could give us. With that said, we're back tomorrow recapping Bachelor in Paradise with Justin Long. That'll be easy to cut out if you need to.
Yes.
And on Wednesday, Dr. Amen talking about the brain and how the brain affects our lives and how we can take better care of our brains. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.